All right, I'll let people get on. Peace. Yeah, but you're on the camera though. If you're cool with that, you know what I'm saying. Peace with that. I always let people know, just in case.
Yeah, you got some guys don't like me.
You know who hated that? Umala hated that.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Remembered Imperfection, Umala, man. It's one of the legends, you know. But he was very anti. He was like, when he was articulate about it, he was like Edward R. Murrow, saying that he was on. Edward R. Murrow is one of the great journalists on TV, but he was saying that TV would ruin everything.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? Because the forum allowed more frivolity,
right.
More fancy visuals, less actual content. And he was predicting that. And people, it sounded crazy when he was saying it. Because it's like, you're on TV. Why are you saying this shit? You're benefiting from this TV shit.
If you think about like films from like the 40s and 30s, they were much better, well written.
Oh yeah.
And acted
absolutely.
Out, as opposed to
absolutely. Dialogue was heavy in those old bogey movies. He had the lines.
Yes. So there was a lot more thought.
Right.
Now it's like it's free for.
Even the gangster movies had dialogue. You don't even need to do that shit now. You could do, you got special effects and all that kind of shit.
Right. So you had like a lot of those.
All right, Frank M. Holler, peace of the earth, harmony, divine understanding, peace. If anybody has any questions about anything, let me know. You know what I'm saying? Supposed to have the God in Mecca come here and visit and everything. So I like to go his direction and stuff like that. But I have a very interesting, I don't know if I can do it today, a very interesting prep lesson. I like to call them prep lesson for neurology. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
Because what I've learned in preparing this lesson is that when I started teaching, I used to get a lot of shit because elders would walk in and they would see me teaching about books. And I would choose 3 books that I think that would be useful.
Okay.
And they would see these 3 books, me talking about books and shit like that. They couldn't see the relevance to 120. You know what I'm saying? In these books. And they were like, man, he's just teaching about reading and shit. And I was like, man, I never heard no shit like that in a school, though. I was like, a lot of in the years teaching here, I blended a lot of orthodox techniques into the unorthodox models of our pedagogy here. You know what I'm saying? So I used unorthodox techniques that we used in the street inside here, meaning I would make it a cipher. I would make it more where I would listen to you, right? You build like a lot of classes ain't like that. Right. I have everything in the cipher. Have everybody build. I need to know what everybody's dealing with though before I even start building. But then at the same time, I would introduce orthodox techniques. You know what I'm saying? I want to see your writing. I would say that the foundations of the class were my own skills that I was also showing. Reading, writing, communication skills, right? As a journalist, communicating through radio, media, all of these things, lectures, reading and writing, there's foundations of being a writer. So that's obvious. And I would teach those aspects. And then I would always try to pick 3 books that I thought were relevant. You know, it ended up being certain lessons like the beginner book list, the Power Cipher, 50 book beginner book list. You know what I'm saying? Okay. For any student studying 120 though. So that list though, which I still have to update. You know what I'm saying? I have collected so many digital books that it's daunting. That's what one of the guys was asking me, and he actually, of course, he had to ask me about the hardest book to update is some of the health books because I teach here a living foods vegan protocol. Okay. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
So even if you're not going to be that, I'm going to show you how to do it. What is a living food? How do you identify it? How do you use them in your diet and stuff? Right. But these are the books that they update a lot. So having an updated book on the list is I have to keep looking. You know what I'm saying? So I haven't done that in a while. But anyway, I would do these things and I would do a lot. I would have a lot of pedagogical techniques and I would be kind of like shunned and stuff. You know what I'm saying? I remember one time there was a brother that was he didn't know how to read. So I was like, I'm not telling this man he's God. He don't know how to read though. You know what I'm saying? That's what we teach you. I said, that's what we teach you, but that's not what you're going to learn right now. Right. You're going to learn how to read though. Okay. Right now you be laughing stock a lot. You go out there, you don't know how to read though. Right. You know what I'm saying? It's fucking 2000. You know what I'm saying? You don't know how to read. And he was like 20 something, you know? Right. And so what level of reading you're at? Like, what did you ever try to read? Like comics or things like, I'm saying anything. Right. He said, you know, I think the hardest thing I ever was getting through, but I didn't finish, was Huck Finn. You know, Huckleberry Finn.
Yes.
You know, by Mark Twain. And so why don't you bring that next time? So he brought it, and I started. Nobody was in the class, and he was there. I'm here. Fuck it. I'm here teaching him how to read. That's what the class is about. You see what I'm saying? That's what the class is about. We're teaching him how to read.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? We can't use any of these tools about how supreme we are, though, if you don't know how to read. You know what I'm saying? Right? This is the thing, you have to learn how to walk, you know? One of these things I learned in the neurology book, one of the best ones that I've read, right? And I go through them, though, is that the development of the child is crucial. That's why we always say the babies are the best part. And if you miss those years, you may not be able to develop. And the father knew that without even going to school for that or anything like that. He knew that these elders, they had missed things and they had missed their opportunity to learn certain things. You know what I'm saying? And they had the example of, like, there was this famous feral child that was just found, and mom was a bitch and she never fed her anything, just left her in the room. They found the kid. Of course, they arrested the mother and all that. And the kid was all draped in roaches and fecal matter, you know, shit everywhere. Like, she didn't know how to recognize things, nothing. She obviously couldn't talk, nothing. And basically, she never could be taught, like, those things that, you know, and like, okay, so now we'll get her back up to speed. Nah, she passed those developmental years. So just learning to do simple things was nearly impossible. You know what I'm saying? So it's like the in the brain, telomeres grow and they develop when you solve problems. The depth of the brain gets deeper. You know what I'm saying? And at a certain age, though, if you were brought up without certain things, you just can't develop them. You know what I'm saying?
Can't teach old dog you
Nah, you can't. You know, and unfortunately, this child was already like nearly preteen, so it was this horrible tragedy. You know what I mean? But the unorthodox and mix of the orthodox is crucial. You know what I'm saying? It's crucial because I had just come from college, though, and I was already prepared. I was already prepped in college to be a lecturer, to be able to express my thoughts. I already done lectures because of my mentor there. You know what I mean? And Day-Son knew that, so that's why he set up the class here. Day-Son, he not only brought me here, though, but we was always thick and thin, you know, everything. And he was like, yo, let's make this class but different for the revolutionaries, for all that shit, because, you know, it's what we were on. And he was like, political education and civilization enrichment, the peace course, how to deal with the outside world and this knowledge of self. You know what I'm saying? Science of everything in life, you know, civilization enrichment. And that's where it started, though. A lot of the elders thought that we were just a writing class because, you know, we were writers. And we kind of just let them think what they were going to think, including like Umulan stuff, right? Because they was hard on us. You know what I'm saying? They was hard on us. You know what I mean? And I didn't get no love because I was Puerto Rican. You know what I'm saying? Well, that's great diversity. No, that didn't happen in the beginning. You know what I mean? So I got a lot of disrespect, but I also got a lot of respectful analyzing. You know, like everybody was Inspector Deck. You know what I'm saying? Some of them were respectful, some of them weren't. You know what I'm saying? So it builds up your mettle. METTLE, right? One of my favorite words, right? But I never wavered, though. I continued to add what I thought was going to be useful and what was unique to the other elders that were teaching, right? Whether it was Colleen, whether it was Dumar who would teach at times, whether it was Firstborn Prince, you know what I'm saying? There were juggernauts here. You know what I'm saying? I had to bring something, you know? I had to bring something. You know? Couldn't bring that weak shit. Couldn't be the prize of the nation. You know what I mean? So I had to bring something. Right? All right, peace of the God King. Come on. Crypto Ocho. I'm not sure. You sound familiar. Let me know. Ice God John Noel. Peace. All right, sweetie. Peace to the earth. Infinite mind. Peace to the God. Peace to the God. You know what I mean? But when time permits, I'll go through that lesson, have stuff written out into the chat and everything, so people can get these books. You know what I mean? Now, because I offer a digital library that's huge, I usually talk about books that I can give you. You know, email and stuff like
Right.
that. So, you know, if you take my email down too, I'll,
Yeah,
I'll send you stuff and everything.
True,
You know, before I've always been in publishing before when I started teaching, and I used to just spend time at the copiers though and make books for everybody. You know, print out books, and I broke a lot of bags like that, overstuffing them and everything like that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Some of them books can.
Yeah, now I'm overstuffed with just a laptop and my own food. I get to bring my own food now and drink. You know what I mean? Fill it up with that. Because before it would be with things for the class and all of the CDs that I needed. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
But now we ain't got to do that. You know what I'm saying? But Sunez 97. SUNEZ 97 at gmail.com. Right? So you email me so that way I could send you stuff over the weekend and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Send you some of the plus lessons that I use in this classroom heavily that'll start any student off, and some of the crucial books, you know what I'm saying, that we always need. You know?
I'm an advantageous reader.
Okay. I'm behind in my emails, by the way.
Okay.
That's P.E.A.C.E, yeah. Not you. I'll get you this weekend. I gotta catch up. I was building with the guy Self-I Build, and he be emailing me like a lot of questions, man. It's like essays that are like 1,000 words and shit. So I like to give detailed answers, but I'm a little behind, but I'll catch up. Yeah. So it's important to build up the library. So you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think that's. I always tell, especially like women.
Oh, that's Peace, God. I will infinite.
I always tell this to women. Like you can tell how wise a man is by if he has a library or not. You know, because most men, not every man is a man. You know what I'm saying? So a real man, he's gonna have some books. My father had books. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But,
you know what's interesting? My father had zero library, and there was this one thick ass Civil War book, and I saw him for a while every day trying to finish it. And I don't know if he finished it, but it just inspired me, like to tackle that book. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, man. Let's say my digital library is like 6,000 books, so I could, unless I got a Beauty and the Beast library, I could put them in. I could never have that anyway, But I have a pretty decent library. So basically, most of my books that I just buy books that I cannot get digital. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
That's how
I do that sometimes.
And it helps because not just for the size, but also because I want to share these books. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And I am not sharing physical books anymore.
Right. Yeah.
Not doing that anymore.
So you don't get them back.
I lost some good ones, man. Yeah, different diets around the world. Peace, God. Everything's peace, God. There's it's a good question though, because I don't really think about other diets around the world as a specific question, but a lot of the diets around the world reflect the quality of the people. Obviously, the first world is eating like the trash world, and they're mainly eating fast food, GMO stuff. They're eating lots of meats, lots of dairy. When you go around the world, you see places like Okinawa eating a lot of fermented foods, right? The fermented tofu, the tempeh, right? That's my juggernaut there, tempeh, which is basically a fermented soy, but also with at least 3 grains mixed in.
Yes.
You know what I mean? It's real strong. It's good for the body. A lot of the world is being destroyed by GMOs, not just because of the GMO, like the actual fruit that is GMO'd,
right,
genetically modified, but because of the destruction of the microbiome. You know what I'm saying? The destruction of the microbiome, though. In other words, when you start to destroy the soil and you start to destroy the nutrients, there's actually less enzymes. There's actually less actual the microbiome, all of the stuff that everybody's trying to get probiotics from.
Right.
And there's less of that in people's bodies now today. And so there's less to deal with it. So now when the body gets stuff into its body, it has less help. It accepts everything more as a foreign agent. And now that the diets are more and more processed, there are more foreign agents. you know. And you have certain rules like the FDA. Now you can make you can take two natural ingredients in nature and blend them synthetically and make a complete mutant out of that, and that will be seen as a natural ingredient, you know. So these are problems. Places like Okinawa, even if it's not vegan, places like Italy, not every place in Italy, but places like Italy where they're making their own olive oils, you know what I mean? They're pressing them, cold pressing them, right? And a lot of people don't know what cold press is. Cold press means that, you know, you're squeezing those olives or whatever it is that you're squeezing, but once that machine reaches a certain temperature, they have to stop, and they have to get it back to that temperature. It has to at or below a certain temperature. And so none of the enzymes, none of the nutrients in there are destroyed.
Right.
You know, so now it's been a thing. You see, they sell a lot of shit like, you know, at other places that are bullshit. But if you go to Starbucks and stuff like that, you'll see cold pressed juices in there. That's the jewel that's in the Starbucks, because I don't see anything else worth drinking in there. You know what I'm saying? Right. You know, you just see, you know, so much caffeine in these coffees and espressos, though. You better just do a line and just leave. You know what I'm saying? just do a line of Coke and just go. Just be on your way. You know what I mean? But I'm trying to think. So that all encompasses like the Mediterranean diets, where there's like a lot of natural food, natural making of food and stuff like that. And in this processed world that we look at those foods, they may not be as good for us, but out there where they make it fresh, though, it's different. You know what I'm saying? It's much different, you know? But as far as the world's different foods, though, I can't say I'm an expert like that. You know what I'm saying? I think that most of the foods I've eaten, I've stayed to a lot of the Asian staples that have been good for me. Like, as far as drinking food, tempeh, I'm saying for the protein, tempeh, and then my drink kombucha, you know, which is a fermented tea that's mixed with juice, and you know, and I'm gonna say this: it's not a kombucha though if they put sugar in it, though. You know what I mean?
You know what I learned about tempeh from? You probably heard of Dr. Gary Null.
Gary Null, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah,
his show is still on though, so a lot of good information. Yeah, still. Yeah,
that's how by the store too, in that 89 thing on Broadway.
Yeah, right. It used to be on 80. What was it on?
86 or 80.
You know, because they had the 84th and Broadway was the theater, and then because his office used to be on 84th, but the health food store was more down.
Right.
Yeah,
but he moved the store up.
Yeah, I haven't been to the store in a while. The major store I go to if I'm in Manhattan and stuff like that, besides Trader Joe's, because you need Trader Joe's.
Right.
It's Westerly on Columbus Circle.
Okay.
That's the Westerly market. Yeah. Yeah, as far as a Caribbean diet, though, you know, like people get so stuck on the meat, and everything like that. And like, let's say places like Puerto Rico, it's hard to judge what a diet is because it's so denatured by the American way. It's been denatured even by the Spaniards' ways. You know what I mean? But a lot of the natural foods of the island, though, when they're stressed, you know, the remedies that go along with the diet. Because I think, especially in the Caribbean, a lot of the remedies are part of the diet.
Right.
You know, the herbal remedies and all these things, they're part of the diet. Just like the Chinese, you know what I mean? These are part of the diets, you know what I'm saying? So I think for us making a diet, though, especially like when with the 85, you know, this is a signifier for them, what they eat. You know what I'm saying? If you get off pork, though, you're not really Puerto Rican. You're not really this. You know what I'm saying? And, you know, this is where we have to say, like, yo, if you're really strong in any of the cultures you're in, though, you're powerful enough to make a culture for them. You know what I'm saying? Right? Salsa is basically a pretty new music in Puerto Rican history. You know what I mean? Someone had to sit down and make that. They didn't say, I can only do what the traditional music is. You know what I'm saying? They made up something new.
It's funny that you brought up though, like because I never heard that. But like you not real Puerto Rican, you don't eat pork.
Oh yeah, I hear that all the time.
But it's funny though, because when I was in college and I was doing the science on the history in the island, and it was said that that was actually the Europeans that actually brought the pig onto the island.
Yeah, they're not native to the Caribbean.
Right.
Yeah.
So if as a Puerto Rican, you're a descendant of Taínos. So how if I
Not all the
was
time, no.
well, all the time, you know, but everybody got a percentage.
Right.
It's still a low percentage. If everybody it's still gonna have a percentage of that if you from that island. But that's how my build would be when building on that, right?
Yeah.
Coming off the port, it's like that's not even your original diet. If you are making your poor place as a Taino or Arawak or Korean or any of those indigenous people, that's not something that is native.
Yeah, it's hard to do things when you liken things to what it was. You know, I've heard people say, "Well, I eat pork now because when the original," I've heard this. This is a real thing. The original Tainos, they ate like the mice and everything that was running around. They ate game, you know, and it's like, wow. So they ate rodents that were game at that time. So, you know, you stepped it up by eating the pig. You know, and I don't know what to say to that though. You know, I call it a day. You know what I'm saying?
You just looking happy, right?
Yeah, man. You know, if you're using the idea that our ancestors used to eat like, you know, small rodent game, man, you know what? Swine away.
What you
Swine
want to
away.
do better? Like what you want to, like, you know, like
Yeah.
take care, you know, like be better than the ancestors, right?
Right. It's supposed to elevate.
Yeah.
But some people, you know, still stuff.
It's all what's convenient though, because these are some of the same Puerto Ricans that don't really listen to Puerto Rican music. So I'm like, how come I can't say that to you though? You don't listen to Hector Lavoe. You're not Puerto Rican, which I do think that's true. I don't think you're Puerto Rican if you don't listen.
Good.
Okay, but
OG legend.
you know, I don't know the exact uses of CMOS and stuff. I've had CMOS, but I never was a hefty user of CMOS. So all of its benefits, as far as like the stomach and everything like that, I don't know. I know that the stomach is always aided by anything that has a lot of pre and probiotics. You know what I'm saying? You know, that has helped me a lot though. So that's why I mentioned kombucha and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? And I'm a big tea drinker. You know.
I heard that CMOS, too much of it is not good, but you have like what's that? Bottle rock. What's it?
Bottle rock.
Bottle rock. It's like bottle rock. I think it is.
It's a root.
It's a root, and I think you combine that, and it kind of helps you balance some of the things that they say. Like CMOS is good, but too much people like. So Sebi, recommend.
Okay.
He recommended
The
a lot.
bottle rock root. I think.
I said bottle rock.
Yeah, because I think when you're dealing with herbs, especially though, these herbs have to liken themselves to you. You have to have the right amount, everything like that.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
But too much of anything is always bad.
Yeah. You know.
Well, dealing with herbs, you need kind of like being like a chemist. You know how
Yeah, you really are.
mix
You
it,
really are.
mix it
Yeah.
and everything.
You know.
Shout out to Now Saeed. He put me onto a couple of things.
That's big.
God, I wanted to ask you about
Yeah, let me know.
it being the 50th anniversary. They celebrating the 50th anniversary of hip hop.
Yeah.
But there's really no mention of the gods. So I had a
Yeah, that's a good. Yeah.
you know, because
Yeah.
Born King, not your Born King, the other Born King. He actually just went off. He went off this morning. We're talking about how Chuck D. They just did something like Fight Power on PBS.
Oh yeah, I didn't see that.
Yeah, I didn't see it either, but I've been been meaning to watch it. And it's on YouTube.
Okay.
But they didn't mention the gods. Like he's like, I saw the first episode and they didn't mention the gods. In the second episode, they didn't. And you know, man, when Born King, when he's hitting a point, he's gonna take you there. You know what I'm saying?
I'll say this though, right? I'm gonna say this though because I have to throw this dart out first, right? Because I'm the only one that's doing that. I think most journalism today is only going back to give you things that were missed in the 90s or to elaborate extra about things we already know about the 90s, maybe breaching a little bit into the 2000s, but they're really just rehashing stuff. So all of these so-called artists that are now journalists, though, that's all they're doing is they're dipping back. That's how whether they're good like Kweli or whether they're not so good like others, right? So there's no journalism about today's era, though. Okay? And that's a plug for me and me only, because you know who's doing it? Me. That's cool. You know. But anyway, on that subject, the thing, I didn't expect any of them to have that kind of stuff in there. You know what I'm saying? In my personal journey of cataloging stuff, we get ignored when we talk about what we've done, and I have it two-pronged stuff. As a 5%er, we get ignored, but also it's Puerto Rican history as well. You know what I'm saying? So those two things, I'm very used to being ignored. So like the whole Puerto Rican thing, though, we had to get crazy legs to give real documentation, and you have to go through it with the fine-tooth comb just to prove stuff that everybody in the Bronx that was there really did know, and a lot of people were just acting like they didn't know. You know, acting like, oh, the first day that we had the first party, I didn't see a Puerto Rican there, so they weren't in the whole thing. As if the whole elements were made in one day. Like, they got to think, hey, this is a crazy thing, hip-hop. We just, you know, August 12th, I think we're going to go back and do some more hip-hop. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was made in one fucking day. When in reality, for about a whole year or 2 or 3, they're really just dancing the same dances that were in the hustle, that were in the other stuff, right? They're not really doing anything until new things are, then the thing develops, right? Then when I became 5%, because I was writing in magazines when I was 85.
Okay.
Right? So that's from 94 on. So then by the time it's like 99, I'm even double bitter. So I'm like, wait a minute though. You want to write about these 5% MCs, but you don't want to have me go talk to them? You know what I'm saying? None of you even know what they're talking about. And the best example I could give is when A-Son Unique, Old Dirty Bastard, you know what I'm saying? When he returned to the Essence, I was just a writer there at the Source at the time, and Day-Son was an editor. He wasn't editor-in-chief just yet. The God Day-Son, right? Allah. And he, we were going to do that piece, and I remember Freedom Allah, right? Remember the Perfection, Freedom Allah too, as well as A-Son. Papa Wu, we were going to get a piece from him, though, but he just didn't trust that what we would give the Source wouldn't be mutilated and destroyed and corrupted. And that's what he told me, because I was the one interviewing him. And I said, can I just do this in it? Because I just want to know. So I just history that I want to know. I'm not going to make a story. And they gave the story, you know, and they gave it to make it more highlight. They gave it to a white guy to write the obituary column for Old Dirty in the Source. You know what I'm saying? Mind you, they were you should have seen. I probably took. I know I took it out of my mind. The way that they analyzed us, you know, sticking pins like a motherfucking nurse. You know what I mean? The way they analyzed these lines sounded like he was rapping about an old granny lacking a thimble. You know what I'm saying? Like they had no idea what the verses meant. And then after a while, me and Day-Son was just like, we're not going to tell them anything. We're going to let them write that bullshit.
Was it
no?
Was it before? No, that was after they sold the.
No, this is when Dave Mason still was there.
Oh, they still.
You know what I'm saying? But he was no juggernaut of the sound. All that stuff that people say, like, oh, the Source was great and things like that. They had great writers by accident. They had great writers by accident. All that squad because they had great actual writers that happened to converge at that time. It's not that they were scouted out, but they, except for like a few legends like Bones Malone, who obviously, you know, is the father of my element because he made it creative. You know what I'm saying? And I finished it, you know? But after, they made so many mistakes about artists over the years, especially our culture. You know what I'm saying? People always bring up that old issue, the 5% Summit, or Nation of Islam, and they had like King Son on it. They were like, oh, look, they always represented us. I can't tell you how many mistakes they had issue after issue. And this was in all the magazines. You know what I'm saying? I was pretty much blackballed, but you know the better word is, because they do it on Twitter now, so now it's a better word now, shadow banned. You don't know that you're being blackballed, but you're kind of not. Shadow banned. So I like that word for myself. That was my history. Shadow banned. You know what I mean? When I did a piece for J Live, the God Justice Allah, right? That Medina MC moved out to Atlanta, made tons of great albums, right? One of the greatest MCs of the 2000s. That's a fact. You know what I'm saying? All of the above LP 2002 must have. You know what I'm saying? Must have a special record of those years. I call the dark ages in the 2000s. We joked because he knew I was a 5%er because I knew you was a 5%er. You kept saying peace when we was talking and we was hooking up, right? So, and he was teaching me because I was new to the knowledge. He was teaching me. This was like 1999 when I just got the knowledge. And he was like, yo, make sure that they don't say I'm a Muslim though. You know what I'm saying? You know? And I said, oh yeah, no doubt. You know what I'm saying? I give him the piece. We open it up. Show and prove section. Show and prove section, by the way, though. A section named like they had ALX, a section called ALX and Double XL, like they had show and prove. These are sections that I know the person that made them up because they bragged about it to me, a 5%er, and told me, look what I made up. A section called show and prove. A section called ALX. And I'm like, wow, motherfucker. Wow, you're really, really innovative, you know? So when I tell people I was burning bridges, how was I not supposed to like the match? You know what I'm saying? So this disrespect was like, they didn't care to write about A-Sun and say he was a 5%er. He really was. The people that loved him most were 5%ers or filled with him because there are a lot of people that loved him that weren't 5%ers, right? His family's big, and I met many of his family that aren't 5%ers. But you got to have that angle in there because he was that to the very end, you know, no matter how off the wall he was, how eccentric, whatever like that, right? And you know my history, guy, with Day-Sun. Being eccentric is not a disqualifier for you being a true living God. You know what I'm saying? Right. Because if it was, then I wouldn't be here. You know what I'm saying? No matter how mild-mannered and calm people see me, I wouldn't be here if the most eccentric, most dynamic person in the universe didn't bring me here with all the bells and whistles. You know what I'm saying? All the bells and whistles, though. You know? But they have always disrespected the 5% because a lot of the writers there thought that they knew what that was. And over the years, it grew to where they thought they knew of it out of disrespect. Meaning that, like we had situations where like, well, I was in the Nation of Islam, so I know about this stuff. I say, you don't know about this shit. You know what I'm saying? You don't know about this shit. I'm going to hit you with a fucking bean pie right now. You think you know this shit about us, though, and everything you're writing about here is wrong. And that's why the homage to Old Dirty in the source was pitiful to me. It was disgusting. You know what I'm saying? It was disgusting. And they did everything. They write him like a loony. They don't write about how much. See, one of the things they don't realize about Old Dirty Bastard is something I have learned about teaching people all of it, right? That the Wu-Tang is a case study for dealing with this knowledge in a very highly magnified commercial environment. The most difficult. I didn't say that they did everything right. But if you're acting like you would do everything right and you're going to Monday morning quarterback people that were in situations that you would never be in. I've seen people talk shit about, I would have done this if RZA. RZA talked the wrong way here. He has talked the wrong way. Maybe he said the wrong things, but he's very articulate. But they Monday morning quarterback stuff, though, and I have seen them fumble the ball with 10 people in front of them. You know? And so so when we look at old Dirty, A-Sun, Unique, right? We look at someone that, like, it's heavy to hold this knowledge. And then you go up to all these places and you see, listen, the devil that we're talking about ruling, though. Right. It's a little different when you see the devil actually in ruling mode. Right. You see what I'm saying? Right. We're watching TV, we're watching everything. We analyze that they're ruling. Right. No. He's seeing them ruling. Right. They own this, and he's not allowed to get in there unless they allow him. Right. You know what I'm saying? They don't, like back then when you made a record, especially like Arista, right. They thought they had well-meaning. They were almost like the good white folk, that take you through the liberators. You know what I'm saying? The abolitionists. Right. You know what I'm saying? Right. Like Dante Ross. They walk brand Nubian into the label, the abolitionists. You know what I mean? I understand you, and I'm gonna bring you to the label. But they don't understand all this stuff. And by the time that Wu-Tang came out, it was really because of Wu-Tang. This is a side note. Because since they're not giving any 5% history, that's really why. It's really because it started with Public Enemy, but with the proliferation of Brand Nubian and then Wu-Tang, especially Wu-Tang, where you had lyrics that had to be deciphered. This was when having lyrics annotated and then soon to be analyzed with Genius.com, but annotated was very important though, because record labels were like, I don't know what I'm signing here because I don't know what he's saying here. You know what I'm saying? Because remember Biggie? There are lines in Biggie's both albums that are muted out.
Yes.
They're not muted out because they're mad deep. They have like drools in them. They're muted out because they say offensive shit that is a little too far.
Right.
What do you mute out with the Wu-Tang? You don't know what the hell they're talking about.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because if you muted out Raekwon stuff, you're like, oh no, but we want the drug stuff in there. That's okay. You know what I'm saying? You want the drug stuff in there, but then he's talking about like, you know, but then there's lines in there about getting the knowledge, you know, like, do we take that out? You know, like, I don't understand. So they have no idea what to take out. You know what I mean? And that's where like original hip hop lyrics archive came from. You know what I'm saying?
Well, it goes to the question of, you know, who are we giving our culture to actually be at the helm of that and driving?
Because remember back then, just like when I was a writer, I couldn't write and just say, yo, this is dope. Put this shit in there. Right. I did do that. It didn't work though. That's how I was in all the magazines. I was like, yo, you accept me as dope, right? Then put this shit in there. It's like, well, you know, and it's not well, you know, from like other white people. It's black folk that's telling me that bullshit. And then and you see the white man looking beyond, like, you know, from behind, you know? And so I cannot write unless someone else okays it. So you can't be on a label unless somebody else okays it. Somebody has to say okay to it. Right. You know what I'm saying? Why do you think that, you know, people respect what RZA did? Because it's really a magic trick what he did. Especially that they kept saying things that became more arcane. Arcane meaning that it's for the listener to analyze, and he probably won't get it. Right. That's why it's still arcane, because that's why today the Wu-Tang is like more of a cult, and you kind of wear it, right? People kind of wear the gear, but they don't really know what that really means, though. It's like it's cult following, though. It's a lot of men saying all that crazy shit. Right. You know what I mean? It's fun, you know. And Old Dirty was kind of the peak to that because he had deep things to say. You know what I mean? But look, one of the deepest verses that he has is on a song that they left and put it on the soundtrack instead of the Wu-Tang Forever album. Peace God.
I was his barber.
I was his barber.
That's Peace God. Every time I say somebody dope, you come in and say, "Oh, that was his barber."
Yeah, I was his barber. He was cutting my barber shop on 121st Street.
That's Peace God.
Yeah. Besides Dot X, I did a few of them. You know, Bismarck.
See, this is what I'm saying, guys.
Well, you know what? It's interesting because it's our responsibility, God, to tell us. It's not PBS's.
No, it's not.
Responsibility. It's not Chuck D's or KRS-One's responsibility to tell our history.
Yeah.
It's our responsibility. So, you know, I mean, I get why the God is you know, fuming about why they left us out.
Yeah, I would never do that because I've already known that they've been fumbling the ball in the eras that everybody says were the great eras. Right. I felt they were fumbling the ball since '93. So I don't have any kind of qualms about saying that they was dope with this or dope with that. I think that most of the stuff that they ever wrote that was good was by the quality of the journalists that they had, but not necessarily that the knowledge experience that they had. They didn't have journalists of the street, which is very rare for music. You know what I mean? They had journalists that were just good, really good writers and interpretive writers. You know what I'm saying? But they didn't have too many Bones Malones. Like they were on the street and they just have the gift for writing and all of it's there. So that's what they were making do with, and they made great stuff because of that. But there were a lot of mistakes when you go through those old issues. I know because I spent a lot of time in the source looking through their old issues. You know what I mean? Because what were we writing? We were writing frivolous shit. It took me 5 minutes to write what they wanted. When I wrote something deeper, they were like, "Oh, that's bad deep." You know what I'm saying?
Too deep.
So I was like, "Let me write the bullshit." But I spent my time digging, looking at stuff, taking records. I got my copy of Jay Dilla's Donuts before it came out because they threw it in an old bin and nobody gave a shit about it. They didn't even know who it was. And that's not just them. Nobody knew that was going to be a great album unless you heard it. Nobody knew that was going to be a classic or classics and a quintessential instrumental album. and they weren't on it though. They laughed at me. I keep it real. They weren't the only magazine because it was a long career. They laughed at me as well as other magazines when I pitched them MF Doom. And I pitched the source MF Doom when he was on Adult Swim. Like, how much? That's pretty pop. I thought I'd get, like, give me a page. You know what I mean? Give me half a page. Give me a pot. You know what I mean? Give me a.
Considering his career, like they wasn't.
You know, but other magazines laughed at me when I said Doomsday was going to be the shit, and we need to talk about that now. You know? Like I said, I was the shadow band sage. King Kimonos, right? I was the shadow band sage. You know?
That's what I said. We need our own, man. We can't.
Yeah.
We can't have
That's what I said. Like, having
man.
them talk about the 5%, like, they're not even around. They don't even know. You know what I'm saying? You know?
So
What would they know about
literally
that?
on the front lines of
All these men. Peace.
Divine universal law.
Peace, guys. Sunez Allah.
I know.
peace, boss.
Keep up the good work. I like this.
Thank you, G.
We need more of that because that's how people get to know us when they hear it from us.
That's right. That's right.
They can't know us from somebody else that they living like us.
Right.
That's right.
Yeah, that's exactly what we're talking about right now. You know, it's about
I put a thing on front of the school with Lauren Hill, right, doing our thing. This is our thing right here.
That's
You
right.
come here, you know what it is.
Right.
That's right.
Allah's God, what's happening?
Peace, God.
Peace, God.
Right? You know, I'll say this, though. Another reason why it was allowed to be let go is because two things. Journalists didn't ask about the 5%. Wu-Tang is crucial in that, too, because media really downplayed them and made them feel like they went too far on Wu-Tang Forever. So if you ever read the coverage of the W album, which I think musically is a great album, has a lot of jewels in it, right? Once he becomes Bobby Digital, Riz is more of an experimenter. Right. So you get hits and misses, but you get hits that you've never heard before. Like you get real stuff you never heard before. Right. Anyway, when the W album came out, all the interviews were about, we were too deep on the other one. We were too deep on the other one. Peace. You know, and so kind of making excuses like this is not going to be that. You know what I'm saying? So then now this is not.
The Wu-Tang Forever was too deep, or the W was too deep?
The Wu-Tang Forever was too deep. So what you're going to get now with the W is a better mastery of whatever that means. Mastery of being less deep.
There was certain
right?
songs on W.
Right. They didn't tackle as hard, you know, as far as like the concepts and stuff, you know.
Yeah, gravel pit on W.
Right, and the MCs that are always deep, like Jizza, their verses were much shorter. You know what I'm saying? Their verses were much shorter. But it's not new to Wu-Tang. OC had that issue, and he had to do it from 94 to 96. But over time, we called those albums classic. But there was a conscious effort to have these MCs say less, give less depth. OC went through it, and he talked about it from 94 to 96. But people don't know about this because 94 to 97, sorry. But people don't know this because they weren't reading the interviews at that time. But I was there. And J-Wu the Damager too. J-Wu from 94 to 96, right? Wrath of the Math. That was also the problem. You know what I'm saying? But then J-Wu got a little bit simpler, but then he made the song where he was taking hip hop from Puffy and Biggie. So, you know, that controversy kept him out of getting any kind of play. He kind of blamed Primo for the beats, but those beats were great. It was really that song, One Day, you know what I'm saying? Which was great. That's why I don't know why Medina likes to argue with me about Biggie being loved like that when there was criticism. There was love, but there was absolutely criticism about the songs that he made. It's in the records, you know. It's in the records, you know. Black Thought did it. J-Ru did it. Right. Anyway, back to my point here. Right. The reason I'm saying that the Wu-Tang Forever is important because by downplaying that, though, it let the message be that 5% message is too deep to throw on a record. And then RZA would say, I'm going to give it to you on the Cure solo album. And it never comes. Right. It never makes it, though. We're still getting Bobby Digitals, and he's throwing these deep RZA cuts as sprinkles, you know, and under the radar, you know what I'm saying? Or with DJ Scratch, which that one was pretty deep, that record, but it was short. It was an EP. You know what I mean? And it's how many years later? Right? It's like you're already in your 50s. It's okay to make music that's deep, right? Whatever. But to have these people write about us, the artists themselves started to not embrace and say that they was 5%ers though. You know what I'm saying? And then some of them would be 5%ers though, but nobody would ask though. I mentioned J Live though. Nobody was asking J Live though, you're a 5%er. But J Live's original bio for his first album said it right there and said reasons why he deals with this knowledge and what his music intends to portray, and because of that influence. So people were given these bios and they would ignore those aspects. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't like, let's say, even the white reporters, when they covered roots reggae, they were asking people like, you know, tell me about John Rastafari. You know what I mean? And they would ask about that, but they wouldn't ask about this. You know what I'm saying? And a lot, I don't know why. You know what I'm saying? I think this. I'm gonna keep it real with you. I think because a lot of the journalists were actually black, and that's the reason. By the time they got older, and they're a little bit older, a couple of years in this hip hop, so that's all you need. A couple of years. You've been exposed to this knowledge. You know it exists. Right. It's in their records. You talk to these guys. They have not embraced it. So this is not something that they're going to advocate, though. Right. You know what I'm saying? They're going to. I was in magazines where they're saying, "How come we don't have more stuff about Christianity and stuff like that? Let's cover Tupac more from that Christian angle, you know, because he talks about God and everything like that. You know what I'm saying? Right. So it's like I was like, man, that's not. You know, Tupac uses it as imagery, but that's not his fucking theme. You know what I'm saying? Right. You know, right. But I don't fit the bill. I'm not African American, so I'm not allowed to analyze Tupac's music. You know what I'm saying?
According to these.
Of course, yeah. I got stuck doing Puerto Ricans though. Beat Nuts and Fat Joe. Beat Nuts, Fat Joe. Occasionally, hey, there's some Asians like Mountain Brothers, which were both dope, by the way. You could do them. You know what I'm saying? They would do shit like that. You know what I'm saying? So you get relegated. You get cast. You know, you get typecast into that type of people that you smart enough to write. And when I become a 5%er, they just act like, oh, well, haha, we know about that stuff. Because if you're black, you know about all spirituality's black. Where does that shit come from? The only people that would know about all spirituality's black, I tell you again and again, is someone that lives in Mecca, Harlem, where they pitch everything. Every religion gets pitched to us here. And only someone that lives here, to me, is capable of saying, I don't deal with no religions, but I know about all of these things a little bit. Right. It's the only type of people. Right. If you haven't been here, then you don't know all these different things. Don't tell me you know about Israelites, NOI, this, that, and everything like that. If you haven't spent any time here, this is where you see him interact. This is where you see him explode. This is where you see him incinerate. This is where you see him pitch. Right? This is the tester. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, but they thought that they knew everything because they're black, though, and they thought they knew what was worthwhile and what was a phase. You know what I mean? And let's not forget, though, for the journalists, this we're arguing about why journalists don't cover the 5%. The 5%, though, is on the street level. The journalists, black and white, but definitely black. I'm keeping it very real. Writing about hip hop music by the mid 90s, not early 90s, mid 90s already. By the mid 90s was a springboard to other things. I do this hip hop stuff. This is going to be a springboard for me to be part of BET's writing crew for this show. Okay. This is going to be a springboard for me writing in this bigger magazine here. You know what I'm saying?
And that was like very intentional, you think?
Absolutely. Absolutely. This was just a pit stop. This was a pit stop. So writing in hip hop magazines was minor leagues, though. You know what I'm saying? So I'm writing in the magazines, though. Nah, I'm not. I'm writing as a revolutionary. I'm writing like, this isn't the minor leagues, though. This is the shit that I'm going to take over, and we're going to do this shit the right way. And this is the only shit that we need. This is the only shit I want to write in. I don't want to write in fucking Vogue. I don't want to write in GQ. I don't want to go with the brothers that I was with there that decided to go make King magazine, which was a seminal magazine because it took porn and put it outside of the porn chamber in the magazine shop. Until you get King magazine, you don't see naked black females in the regular non-whore sections. You know what I'm saying? You don't see them. Eye Candy, the guy that made up Eye Candy is the same guy, right? Is the same guy that made up A-Likes and made up Show and Prove section. You know what I'm saying? So don't tell me about people that was doing black devilishment, because I was there watching it. I was there watching it when I said, I'll give you another pitch. I said, hey, how about we write about Jean Grey? She just did a album with Ninth Wonder, though. You know, remember I had the different covers. She did Cuban Links cover, Hamas and Das Effects cover. Remember that? The 4 covers. I forgot the other 2. I think it was NWA and another one, right? And Jean Grey was dope. She was one of the best MCs, let alone females, in the 2000s. People waited for Lauryn Hill to make albums. It was Jean Grey who made all the albums in that era, right? You know what they said to me? They usually would laugh though. Who's that? The fucking shit that they would say. We're in a music magazine about hip hop. Who's that? That's the answer I would get. I didn't get that answer though. Not with a female. I got the easy answer. You know what answer I got? We already have our female.
We already have our female.
Because we got eye candy. So the model, they named the model, the whatever, she was in 50 Cent's video and shit like that, and she was in there. So that female that was half naked, that had no skills, and was just trying to develop her skills, you know what I'm saying? Bear her skills to the world. She was bearing her skills to the world that were developing, right? She counted as an artist. You see what I'm saying?
Okay.
So they already had a female artist. And I was like, but by then, though, I was already getting my paycheck. While I was there, I stopped. I would go home and not listen to music. Never happened in my life ever. Since my old earth bought me a Walkman, I have never not listened to music every free moment I have had a chance. Yeah. I did listen to music, though. I was in music magazines where I would write, because if Mega knows, I would say, unless I'm writing about an album in hip hop, I listen to other music when I write. And I was listening to Kool and the Gang, and a well-seasoned journalist said, "Who's that?" I said, "Kool and the Gang." Mind you, it was the first album. You should know it's Kool and the Gang if I play the first album, because that's hip hop. Right? How many? It's too much. And you should know, right? And I said, "That's Kool and the Gang. Yeah, it's funk." And he said, "Wow, I thought they were a gangster rap group. Get it? Kool and the Gang."
Wow.
Yeah.
So you had the bootleg Negroes up there.
Bootleg, good word, because they were skilled. They no doubt they were skilled. You know what I'm saying? They were skilled. They were skilled writers. They didn't make grammar mistakes, and they could manipulate grammar, right? So they could write black if they wanted to. It's not that they can't write black, but they weren't integrated in hip hop. So it was okay that hip hop didn't get the proper coverage, though. This was a stepping stone.
So they were still coaching too, because they're not really.
The way I'm going to be fair to them. Some of these people became comedians. Some of them became other things. Some of them became entertainers. Some of them became writers in other fields. Some of them made books of other things, right? I will say this, though, to be fair to them, right? Because some of them, they're good people. A lot of them are nice people. It's not like Trump here, though. Right? It's good people, though, even though they violated the whole culture. It's good people, right? But the thing is when they were doing all that stuff, they really saw that they were just doing, first of all, their career was important to them. But they didn't realize how important it was when they wrote something, you know what I'm saying? And it impacted all the people. So when they looked at hip hop, they looked at it as like a black culture. But we do lots of black things. They didn't see it like the way we see hip hop, where if you talk about it wrong, it's going to affect the youngest people that we know. You know what I'm saying? The youngest people they know, the most street urchin people that we know. They didn't see it that way. Whereas me and Desan, when we're in there, that's the way we know it to be. You know what I'm saying? We know it to be that way. You know, so it was different. So they weren't covering us, though. They weren't covering us, though. You know what I mean? And a lot of the coverage of the 5% was more so a lot of white kids on the internet that were obsessed with Wu-Tang and obsessed with the lyrics and really wanted to know what these lyrics meant.
Right. Yes.
That's a fact.
Yes.
That's a fact.
So how do you think that we can be justified and covered by what you're sharing with me? Is it seem like these are colonized minds, like their minds are already colonized.
Well, getting covered by a major magazine now is not even. They're not going to cover any music that a 5% would make. 5%ers don't make bad music, so why would they be?
That's what I'm saying. But overall,
you know? But overall, no, that's what I said. Well, let me give you the ego answer first, though. It's me. That's who. The Tony Montana. It's me. That's who. You know what I mean? It's me. That there's nobody else. You know what I'm saying? But at the same time, though, I think a lot of it is on the artist, though. I also think, and I've said this to you before, a lot of the artists today are influenced by us, but they don't necessarily live that lifestyle. A lot of this because a lot of the artists of this era that are better because they're older. They went through the 2000s and they didn't get signed. I give you one example: Rome Streets. Rome Streets was making music since throughout the entire 2000s. You know what I'm saying? And made some commendable records that he himself lauded for himself, but never had a way of putting it out himself. Right. So then when you see him, when he comes on Street Pharmacy, right? Not when Rosenberg found him last year, right? But with Street Pharmacy, it's like, wow, this is like refined, it's classic level stuff, it's high level, right? Just to start off like that, because his other records are on SoundCloud, like you don't know the development, right? So they had that time to develop because they were being shunned by labels. What Out There With You God, Gold Chain Music, that's a story of K Burns. You know what I'm saying? Right. That's the story of K Burns. K Burns was the same. You know, he was in record labels, he was writing songs for other people, writing hooks, all that kind of stuff, but he just didn't get his break. But what he ended up doing was developing. So now you hear like a really refined MC. He's like, how did they develop like this? Where they're so seasoned and they're so good at hooks and making songs. You know what I'm saying? Right. That's why. So if they are the 5%, they have to kind of also do that whole bio for themselves. Right. Because the other guys aren't asking. There's a lot of good journalists now. I like to talk shit, but there's a lot of good journalists. There's the Brothers Out in the Abyss podcast. There's white guys like Alex Kuchma that are very sincere up there, but they don't know this culture like that. Right. Because the good white journalists are. This is as real as it gets. Though they're immersed in the MC, the hip hop artist, but they're not from where hip hop's coming from. Right. So they don't really know the cultures that are derived out there. Right. So if they interview Raz Fresco, it's going to be different than if I did. Right. It's going to be totally different. Right. You know what I'm saying? They're not going to get that. If I interview SD Nack, it's going to be totally different than if they do. Right. You know what I'm saying? Right? And so on and so forth. So I think that the artist that's 5% though needs to have kind of his own mental bio that he presents. You know, a lot of times you can't just the artist that's 5%. I put it on them. You know what I'm saying? That they have to go in there and not just be like, what do you want to ask me? You know, they have to kind of steer the questions by answering the way that they see fit. Right. You know what I'm saying? And that includes though when it's relevant, the song is relevant, when the culture is relevant to make that knowledge born. Right. You know? And you see, you know, if the writer's writing it though, they're not always gonna do that. You know what I'm saying? Right. They're not always, SD when he gets covered in complex or something, you don't know if they're gonna do that. Right. You know, they might not. You know what I'm saying? But he's someone that puts a lot of emphasis when it needs to be, so it gets mentioned. Right. But a lot of other guys don't, and it doesn't get mentioned. And you know what? A lot of MCs today, they want to be 5%, or they have the 5% ethos, but they never went under the study. Right. That is not a new thing. Right. No. You know what I'm saying? No. Most of the Wu-Tang were just barely under the study.
Really? Yeah. Really? I thought they all had.
No, they did, but they're still under the study. They're not really as they haven't gone through 120, and they certainly didn't go through the channels like the way a student of mine or the way I was a student, where I had to stand right here, actually right there. I was the front back then, you know, and show and prove, and have Firstborn Prince wheeling here, and have the sweat coming down my forehead and all that shit as I build, right? So they don't have that, you know, under the study. You know what I'm saying? Right?
Does Papa Wu have it? Papa Wu have it.
Papa Wu wasn't someone that got it and became an artist. So Papa Wu is one of the ones that was giving it though. Right. You know what I'm saying? He was the one that was giving it. So, you know, he was
the foundation.
He was as official as they get. Right. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Papa Wu became an artist because he was around so many of them. Right. And that type of way of speaking is so stylistic that he was an MC. Right. the way he spoke was MC, and they was like, "Yo, we got to put that on record." There's nothing as dynamic as that. A lot of the dynamic nature that the RZA, Jizza, and Old Dirty have comes from freedom.
Right.
You
Is
know?
that their uncle or something?
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's their blood uncle.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, I think a cousin.
Right. Right.
It's related.
Might as well be an uncle.
Like,
yeah. As family would go, he's like that uncle. You know, that
Right.
older cousin that's
Right.
old enough, and
Yeah.
you
Right.
see him as your uncle.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
But he was the older God that put him on. When they talk about the older God that put us
Talk
on,
about him.
he's one of them.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? He's one of them. You know what I mean? So, you know what I mean? And he educated him though, but that rise to stardom was fast.
Right.
That is a bullet train.
Right.
That is a bullet train. And back then it feels different because you have to travel
Right.
to let the world know who you are. Someone knows who you are, you have traveled the world. Now you could be a YouTube star and you didn't really go anywhere.
Right.
You know what I mean? But back then, if you're a star, that means that you went everywhere to be presented as a star. You went on tours to promote and perform.
Right.
You know? So that's a lot. And then through all of the frivolity, through all the things pitched to you, groupies, drugs, all of these things that's pitched to you, how well do you keep up the study? How well do you keep up the application? Because I told you, right? Remember I said, it's not the knowing of the knowledge degree in the 1 to 10. It's the actualization to say, that says, that's me.
Right.
That's talking about me.
Right.
That's the only difference. Everybody had that in the NOI.
Mm.
The father was the one that said, that's me. And I'm going to go out and say that that's me.
Right.
Man, they still got it to this day. And they don't say, what the hell?
Right.
Right? Just show me. It doesn't say that the black man is a Muslim in that first degree.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Mm.
It doesn't say it. So they decided to go with the bedtime story
Right.
and stick with the 1 to 36. I say that as a dart because certain Muslims act like we're the children of them. You know what I'm saying?
Mm.
And I don't fucking see that.
Right.
You know what I mean? I don't fucking see that. You're the ones that's still waiting for spaceships out there and playing with Dianetics books. You know what I mean?
Right.
Right? A religion, and I said this because people have been asking me all week. A religion has to keep coming up with new ideas to stay relevant.
Right.
That's how religion survives, you know?
Because this
The brother's upset, and they're like, yo, I don't know why. They have Dianetics, they keep saying things that sound mysterious. It's a religion.
Yeah, they religion.
If we go, listen, once their religion exposes, then it'll still survive. They just believe what they believe. No. Because that happened in 1963 when the father left. He did it overtly. The Muslims didn't like it, and Elijah said to leave him alone. That's what all the elders taught me. He said, leave him alone. He's doing what he's supposed to do. That's not just a
What was he supposed to do when he left?
teach that the black man is God.
Right.
Be the black man that is the true living God at that moment.
Right.
And all of a sudden, though, now they want to say, oh, what's he doing? He's actually saying what the shit says on the paper. How dare he? Now you want to get into the shit, right? The religion's over. You know what I'm saying? Right? Cue up, it's over, right? It's over, right? The good thing is over, right? It's over. But how do you keep it going, though? Far it is. Yeah, he's coming back. He's coming back one day. You know what I'm saying? You know, he might come along with the rabbi, Jesus Christ, and all these people. Mind you, while Elijah spent years and years saying that if Jesus Christ came back, though, it'd be a kind of a disgusting thing. Right? Because his bones would come out of the ground. So he's basically saying that he'd be a zombie.
Right.
But I don't think they knew that word back then, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right? He was saying...
He'd be renewed. He's
Right?
come out and...
But Fard was coming back. The mothership is coming back.
Right.
The Dianetics is showing something else. This is all types of stuff. You have to keep the religion going. You need new, fresh ideas. You know what I mean? You need new, fresh ideas. You know?
So they really saying that Elijah Muhammad is on a spaceship somewhere.
They've never not said that it wasn't just Fard. It's always been just Fard. It's always been. Now, some people don't, and not everybody. And when you have a religion, you have breakoffs. So some people will bear witness to that. Some people don't.
Right.
Just like I see, and I could say all this shit because I walk around for years teaching here, and I walk around out there, And because I'm too light-skinned, they're not going to say peace, God. But I see him say, today's mathematics is blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, blah, 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 blah. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Say it the wrong way, the way you were taught. Wisdom, knowledge, though. You keep it the way. Because if you're going to say shit about us, you know what I'm saying? Right? I have darts with everybody. Or like Wesley Muhammad, I'll never forget, because I got the cameras on me, when he said that bullshit that the 5% was the ambulance, though. And the hospital is the NOI. You know what I'm saying? Fuck out of here with that shit. Nobody comes here and says that shit. And he never said that shit when I was in front of him.
Wow.
He didn't say, hell, you do an ambulance, though, right?
I didn't know he said that.
Yeah, he said that.
Wow.
He said that on a Facebook group talking to other gods that I thought were going to insult the shit out of him. And they were like, well, you know, to each his own, shit like that. Where did we get like this? You know what I'm saying? Where did we get like this? Because if Wesley Muhammad ever thought of saying some shit like that to me in front, he'd get fuck himself and fuck your FOI that's in front of you. One at a time. All of them. One at a time. I'm just saying. One at a time. Because that shit is disrespect. That shit is disrespect. We're getting diminished because you're the ones that don't understand the lesson. You don't understand it though. And you made a palace though on top of misunderstanding. On top of misunderstanding, you made a palace, though. You know? Yeah, I'm giving all the history of beef. Beef brought to you by Sunez. See, this is why it's not good to have me do rap records, though. You know what I'm saying? You see, I'm gonna get into some trouble with one of the songs, but King Kimonos. You know what I mean? But this is all the beef, though. I'm saying, like, where did the 5%? Where did we get disrespected that we would be totally ignored? It's shit like this. You know what I'm saying? While we're watching lectures with Wesley Muhammad, we have to go and respect him and go watch Wesley Muhammad here and do lectures where he's finding fart in water bottles. He's finding fart in Indian deities. He's finding him in rainbows. He's finding him everywhere. But then we find the original black man, the true living God, and we say right here, the black, brown, yellow, right in front of us right now. It says it right in the degree. You know what I'm saying? And we're the ones that's the ambulance that we're gonna take it to you guys.
That's what it was for him.
That's what's for him. And I'm saying it specifically to him.
Yeah.
But a lot of people follow that kind of bullshit. You know what I mean? And a lot of people didn't cover us though in whatever hip hop magazines and stuff like that because they saw like we covered the NOI, and that's the major thing that the American populace knows. Why do we have to give detail about a small sect of the NOI that branched off and stuff? You know why? Because all of the shit that you hear in the lyrics is really 90% the shit that we taught and not what they taught. You know what I'm saying? After great MCs like Cam, remember Cam and stuff like that? There really weren't any Muslim MCs that were really killing it though and dropping it like that. You know what I mean? In the mass pop, on big record labels, I'm talking about. You know what I mean? On big record labels. You know? So I don't have no problem with NOI. You know what I mean? But if I say something about them that feels like I'm talking about Christians, then you work on it, not me.
Right.
If I say you're dealing with religion, though, don't get mad at me, though. It says religion right on your forehead, right there. It says religion right there. And if I see you saying our supreme mathematics, though, I get to talk my shit. Because you're the one out there, not us. The Father was never out there doing this, right? Mind you, this is for you too, that history. The Father never went on a podium. You'll never see it. You see it in Malcolm X movie. You see it everywhere. You never see the Father going on a podium and say, you black man. That's why in the Wu-Tang Hulu, you know what I'm saying? Where we see RZA talk like this all the time. RZA has a very, very deep baritone that's very awkward, right? And they had the 5%ers pitching on the corner like Israelites. Now, Cypher, that's not what they were doing. We had conversations that became so big that it attracted people. But we didn't talk to strangers like, boom, hey, you need to come here and get this knowledge. We didn't do that. You know what I'm saying? We didn't do that. That was all the other religions stuff, and all praises due to them. You know what I'm saying? So they were pitching. That makes you an evangelist.
Right.
When you pitch your truth of spirituality to people, whatever you think that truth is, that's evangelism. Because you're trying to get, and unlike us, even if we went out and did that, though, it still wouldn't be evangelism because we never took money from anybody to give this to. We never took money to anybody. People talk shit. The school looks like this. The school looks like that. This is a school that has never taken funding from anybody. You find you a church, though, that never took funding. You find you a mosque that doesn't take funding, though. You know what I'm saying? Right? And don't say, you can't say that on why, right? Because now I could talk about L. Ron Hubbard. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So there's something everywhere taking something. You know what I'm saying? We didn't take anything and we don't take anything. You know what I mean? All the years I've been a teacher, I've never gotten a salary here. That's some bullshit. I get to talk my shit. This is why we're not covered, though. Because they don't see us taking payments, though. And if you're not worth taking a payment, though, then you're not worth writing about. Magazines, journalism, media write about moneymakers. That's why I call them leeches, though. They leech onto the leech, though. They can't leech onto us because we're not leeches, though. So now you write about us, though, because it's important to the culture. It's important, though, because MCs everywhere that are influenced by us, though, are crucial to it, though. So they might not be directly in this nation, where they be brothers that I know, like Napoleon the Legend, or Elo Kush, or even Spit Gems. They're all influenced, though, in some way of what we teach. Whether they deal with it or not, they've been influenced by some way that they learned from us something. I know because I was one of the people teaching. So this media, unless you make money, they're not going to write about you. You know what I'm saying? And the best way to see if somebody's going to make money is to see if they're taking money.
Right.
You know what I mean?
So we not confident.
So you're not going to see it. You're not going to see it there. You're not going to see it in there. You know what I'm saying?
Well, that goes back to like these discussions that we've been having about capitalism, right? And you know, I had spoke on this before about how Def Jam sold rap music, or sold Def Jam, or Russell Simmons sold Def Jam to corporate America for millions and millions of dollars. Barry Gordy sold Motown for millions and millions of dollars, right? Bob Johnson sold BET and these are all the corporate America, for millions and millions of dollars, right? And then now we look at it like, you know, and even now you see artists are actually selling their catalog for millions of dollars.
And we talk about Wu-Tang. I think Wu-Tang did too.
I just heard that.
Yeah.
That RZA just sold all the whole catalog.
You know what makes it disappointing in some sense, a lot of this selling, is that these things aren't sold because the person says, I need it to be done the right way and give it up. It's not the same. We are not.
No, this is about capital gain.
We're not white. You know what I'm saying? We're oppressed. We sell it though, and they buy it as soon as they know the formula to dilute it to the proper success, where it could continue to sell but not have the impact. You know what I'm saying? They sold Def Jam, but there hasn't been an impact for artists since. It's been very rare.
Right. So that's what I'm saying.
You know?
So if you look at like the culture, we say like that, you know, having an impact in the world. Like, so imagine Bob Johnson didn't sell BET, Russell Simmons, like what we could do with that social resource.
Yeah.
Right. But we don't have that social resource anymore. Yeah. So, you know, it's like.
Well, you see, like the way journalism goes, right? When you are dealing with something, right, it's about writing about the community. So if it stays black, then that means black has to continue to mine black. M-I-N-E has to mine that field again. Right. We
get lazy with that, though.
We need new blood. We have to mine the field of where the talent is. Where they go to get the talent? Back in the black community, though. When you sell it, though, you sold the formula that got you there up to that point. That formula is compromised, though. Right. Because the formula is compromised, now you could sell that formula without having the mine. What happens now is that the black community fixes themselves to be part of, as opposed to the media going down and getting them. But what's that new thing going on? Let's go get them. No, what happens is that you say, that's the thing that they sell, though. I'm going to fix myself to it, though. And now it's happening in the 2000s. And you get the, you know what I mean? Artists is, so-called artists as more like performers, and they're doing their dance and saying, "This is what you guys want," right? Right? And that's where you get the well-educated, college-educated artists, right? The Ludacris's, all of them, and they're different from an Eazy-E. They're different from these artists that don't know much. They know a lot, and they present themselves in the way that'll get them signed. And trust me, it's a lot dumber than they are. You know what I mean?
Right. Absolutely.
Right? All of these guys, Lil Wayne, all of these guys, they all went to college.
Right.
And they talk like idiots, though.
Right.
Like they haven't been through one class, though. Right? They present themselves in such a way. And what we learned with Son, unique. When you get into a character, you get lost in that character too. You know what I'm saying? You get lost in that character and you become that.
Right.
So you say, but he talks stupid all the time now. It's like a formula though, like a chia pet. You know what I'm saying? Add water, add drugs and sales. Add drugs and sales. And you get the character that you were pretending to become very real. You know what I mean?
But isn't that how they control those artists, right? They go to drugs.
Yeah. But what I'm saying is that they didn't have to control them. They saw the formula. Because remember, I said they buy the media, and now the media stays static. It's not growing and covering the black community. It's covering what they decide to present is the black community. And what they do is now the people that want to be in the BET are presenting themselves to BET as opposed to BET going to get the talent.
Right. Okay.
What happens then is that you get the guy, hey, you got to be like this to get on TV. I need Johnny Biscuits, though, to come here and be next doo-wop superstar. It's just like that, just like in the 1950s. You know what I mean? So that's what you get. You get them coming like that, and they present themselves a certain way, right?
So selling out to the music industry as well as getting signed is kind of like a disease, right? It's like
certainly now it's always more awkward now because you don't need to be signed. You can do this all by yourself. You know what I mean? So it says a lot about people that get signed and act like they're ballers and they make money and they're super hustlers and they sell. They keep saying they sell water to well. They sell water to a well, right? But at the same time, no, they're on a label and they're doing the same dance that is expected of them. You know what I'm saying? See, the thing is, though, right? Whether it's the records they make or the deaths that they engage, the deaths that they suffer, right? Like Takeoff and all these people, everything that is happening is exactly what a record label's okay with.
Right.
They're okay with all of that, though.
Track.
Because it's like a pop artist, their career is more like a football player's career. That plateaus very early. So if they get injured, or in this case, it's not sports, dead, they plateaued anyway. There's very unlikelihood that they would make more canonical, exceptional records, though. You know why? Never had much talent to begin with. And people go, no, they had talent, this and that. Compared to what? Right? Cue Roberta Flack. Compared to what? Compared to what? You know what I'm saying? People find talent, though, because they're hearing something in that small bubble and it sounds awesome. But compared to what? You know what I'm saying? It's like if I watch high school basketball all day long and I say, wow, that guy's amazing. You know what I'm saying? And you go to me, you never seen an NBA game? Come on, man. Come on. This is it. This is it. You know what I'm saying? Right? It's like poor Knicks fans, though. They always talk about how dope the team is, though. And I'm like, have you checked the other teams out that are a little bit higher in the standings? Like, this is not good ball here. You know what I'm saying? RJ Barrett is not that great. You know what I'm saying? He's not that sold. You know what I mean? It's the same thing. You know what I'm saying? Small bubble. Everything sounds amazing there. Cardi B sounds like, Lauryn Hill incarnate, though. You know what I'm saying? You're in that bubble. It sounds dope.
I got a question for you because you've been on the front lines, so you've seen the culture grow, and you made Nas Born to me is something that I didn't know, like what happened in the source, because you was talking about the eye candy and how they was counting the eye candy as artists.
Yeah.
Now we're in 2023, And now it's the eye candy that's the artist right now.
Yeah, yeah.
And there's a
Yeah.
whole, and it's like
Fusion.
one next after the other. So
Yeah.
did you see that coming back then? What we
I
have
did.
now?
I did. I said King Magazine was where the people I was with were made King Magazine, and that was a magazine that I refused to write. I refused to ask a woman how big her breasts are. You know what I mean? These are things that I want to know intimately.
Right.
These are not things that I want to know as a piece that I'm writing. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Right. So, like, King Magazine has a lot to do with that. It has a shorter run than the other magazines, though. But
it's not around, right? It fell now, right? It's gone.
Yeah, because they were able to incorporate it in the regular magazine. You know? But how did women adapt? I told you, they pitched themselves to the label. How did they adapt? Well, we become a woman that shows her body excessively, and then we try to get in some pro-woman ideas in there. And you make the exploitation of yourself a pro-woman concept. You know what I'm saying? So if I show you my pussy, then it's my choice, my body, my choice. Now it's a political statement, though. You know what I mean? It's real clever. It's real clever. All while, the white man with the electric guitar, right? That Jizza talks about is over there going, yes.
Yeah.
Mr. Burns is in there going, yes. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah. That's the legacy. You know what I mean? If anybody has any questions, I'll answer them. It's already going to be 8:00 though, so that means it's.
So you're keeping it strict now.
I do, because I go all the way back to Staten Island. You know what I mean?
Staten Island now.
Oh, that's right. I'm out Shaolin, right? No. Harmony, you were too hype about NBA this season. She said Josh Hart is there. The Knicks will be all right. All right. Again, compared to what? It doesn't feel all right. It doesn't feel all right. So we have a whole team that shoots 404 percentage. You know what I mean? 32% from the 3-point line. I can't tell you. I watch these NBA games. How many clanging bricks I have to watch? It looks like I'm watching ping pong. That's what it looks like. It's totally boring. If you name me Curry, I don't want to see any threes. I don't even want to see Damian Lillard shoot from 50 miles back. You know what I mean? No more. Nobody else. Only Curry. You know what I mean? Everybody else get dunks and layups. I want to see dunks and layups. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I don't see any of that shit anymore. But email is Sunez97@gmail. I do have that lesson for the neurology. We will do that next week. You know what I'm saying?
So you're making it here every week now.
Oh yeah. That's why I've been consistent. Yeah.
Okay. But it's a strict time.
It is. Yeah.
Before you were like 7, 6 until.
I was, but this is the best way I could do it. You know what I'm saying? So I could do it efficiently. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
So I could do it efficiently. You know what I'm saying?
No, I got one last question.
Please do.
You were on the front lines, and especially.
I feel so held. I'm getting PTSD when you keep saying that. Of all the bad records I heard.
So you've seen the transition into digital, and right now, right, a lot of, like we were talking about earlier, the presenting of the artists and the controversy. Do you feel, right? Because now we're in 2023. We're in Spacey Sprocket era.
Right there. The era of transhumanism.
Right.
Ooh,
So do you
That's another bill we have to have. Neurology has to do with that. So
okay.
next week's class is definitely going to be about neurology and transhumanism.
Sunez, do you feel that the artificial intelligence, the algorithms in these social media apps and websites, are they now controlling as opposed to the label controlling
No.
who gets pushed?
No, it's still the label. The artificial intelligence is controlled by those people. Everything
Okay.
has a man at the helm. You know what I'm saying? A grafted man is at the helm of a lot of this stuff. You know what I'm saying? But that's a whole other issue, because the transhumanism goes beyond just seeing some artwork and
Right.
some bad. This is what Biggie would rap like if he rapped today. Like I don't even know, but it's musically though. You know what I'm saying? Like we've gotten used to a digital synthetic sound. You know what I'm saying? And remember, because sampling is beautiful because it's sampling real instruments. So there's always a real instrumentation. Once you get the people get an ear for the synthetic, they lose their harmony, right? They lose their harmony, melody, natural melodies. You know what I mean? The idea that they could create their own melodies. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
A lot of this is here. Like, so you see a lot of help with rhymes. You see a lot of help with holding melody. You know what I'm saying? So you don't hear the natural melodies. You know what I'm saying? Right? You'll never get singers that are really great that are flawed. Like a Mary J. You'll never get singers like that. They'll be so auto-tuned to correct that you'll never hear their soul. You don't ever get songs like the way Etta James used to break. You know, like the way she would used to. You know, that's part of soul where you break the note and you wail the note. You know what I'm saying? You won't get these imperfections even with the talented anymore because that's not how you sing anymore. You know what I'm saying? And then when you rhyme though, you get the same topics. That's the key. The topics though. Topics. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Rapping is a skill that can be mastered, just like playing a trumpet. Somebody can do Coltrane now today. Massive skill can be copied over time, though, but it's the subjects, the topics. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
The Earth, Wind, and Fire, the reasons that we're here, right? The reasons that they're doing stuff. That's what gets modified and tossed out. You know what I'm saying? That's what gets ruined in the music. You know what I'm saying? Can't believe I answered that though in just a minute. You know? But if
so
any
doing this album with what's his name?
King, come on, it's already finished. It's already
done,
finished.
right? So
You know?
is it you're releasing it when?
We haven't made a release date because it's still getting mixed, mastered. Okay. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, he's been hitting me to do something with him. I want to do something with him.
Yeah, he's dope. King Cabal is one of my favorites, though. You know what I mean? The silk peddler, always in the pocket. You know what I'm saying? But he rhymes so. I was telling you, he rhymes so much in the pocket that it gave me the freedom to just do whatever. You know what I'm saying? I'm not going to be in the pocket. It's like we playing with a guy that dunks. I don't dunk. You know what I'm saying? Right. So I got a whole bunch of trick shots and fancy layups. You know what I'm saying? Right. And jump shots. You know. But
it's interesting to see that you're going into artist mode. I know earlier on I was like, yo, so you ever think about it? Nah, I don't want to do that. Yeah,
some of this is his fault though. I give it to him. You know, he forced me into that, and because we made a song that I was really proud of. You know, the 9,000 miles. I was like, okay, we could do this. You know what I'm saying? He was like, yo, I'll be ready. He was ready at the helm. I said, yeah, let's do it. The next week, he was like, yo, I did this song, and he was throwing it at me, and it was hard because the music has topics that are more personal. I'll write about all types of shit that is controversial, right? As I just said, a whole bunch of stuff is controversial, right? But intimate things in my own life, though, I don't really go through. You know what I'm saying? Right. So these are things that I did on songs and stuff like that, you know, and also controversial stuff too, though. Let's say that's not the name of the song, but there is something I do have something that is very Ether 2, like if Ether had a sequel. You know what I'm saying?
So Ether and people.
Yeah. No, Ether 2.
Ether 2.
Right. Ether. You'll know what I mean if you could figure that out.
Yeah, no, I get it.
You mean Ether Part 2 type 2?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Because I think the cult is a little too has always been heavy throughout my career. You know what I'm saying? That's also why I burn bridges, because in the magazine lives by who they write about. So if I criticize an artist, though, that's no good. That's who pays the bills.
Right.
So my criticism of certain artists weren't allowed. They weren't welcome. You know what I mean? And I would do that all the time. I would do that all the time. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, you're not messing with no publications nowadays. You're just,
the only publication is the underground publication. So I'll do stuff with one. I've written for One World magazine, but that's because my brother Paragon lays that out, and we do Premier Hip Hop. So I always look out for those brothers, and they do a lot of good stuff on the West Coast, you know. But that's my brother. But if it's a major magazine, they gotta pay because they ain't writing shit for free.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And you gotta leave it the way I wrote it.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because before I was like some unknown kid writing. That ain't the case now. You know what I'm saying? My name means something on the shit, so you gotta have that shit the way I wrote it. Don't be fixing it and fucking it up. You know what I mean?
So like sources now, are you in contact with them or do they read that? You don't really care. They don't like.
Yeah,
it's like
yeah.
whatever.
A lot of these magazines, when I started to write my books, I shared my books with all of these magazines, including with some of the people that I know in some of these magazines that are up there at the top of the chain. And they said, yeah. They gave me the, you know, and they didn't reach out. So they left me totally independent. You know what I'm saying? And as an exercise though, right? I set my resume to a lot of these open positions, only they get rejected. So people respect the shit that I write as a writer, a journalist. The only one doing shit like this, Vibe and all of these magazines have rejected me for their positions that are open. I'm talking about music editor positions, news editor positions, yeah. And I do it just to fuck around. I said, look at the resume. I work with your man here. I was there when he started. And they just, yeah. So they don't want it. And I know that they don't want it because I did that to prove that. You know what I'm saying?
And it's because you 5%.
No, it's because I'm Sunez though.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It's because of all the shit that I did in these magazines. You know what I mean? And they're too pussy to write about real shit. You know what I'm saying? You got 1 million sales? Yo, what's up, man? What's up? That's the fucking journalism. That's fucking journalism. You know? You got 10 sales? Give me a pound. Yeah, what's up? You know? That's journalism. I just showed you journalism 101.
Right.
You know what I mean?
They not,
That's why, God.
Yeah.
That's why. Shit like that. You know what I mean? Shit like that. Niggas fake. Why do you think the biggest hashtag I use is respect fake?
Right. I'm just about to ask about that. The whole respect fake thing. Right?
Yeah. It's
Respect what?
yeah, respect fake.
Respect fake.
Niggas respect fake.
Right.
They respect fake.
That's a
You know what I mean?
Right.
They respect it though. It's glitzy. It sells. It's all this. I respect
No,
that.
but that's
They respect the shapeshifter that still blows up. They respect it though.
and so it's
You know what
entwined with that conversation that we always go back and forth about. Because him and I we go back and forth about capitalism, right?
Right.
He
Yeah.
doesn't like capitalism, right? And I can see why. You know, just my
You put
question
it
is,
mildly, but yeah.
what's the alternative, right? And that's not an easy answer.
Right.
But yeah, like people are like would respect fake because
Yeah.
I gotta do what I gotta do.
Yeah.
He's getting it over here.
I have lived as best as I could by what KRS-One said in Health, Wealth, and Knowledge of Self. Make money elsewhere. Hip hop, you won't abuse it. I respected the art that I was doing. I didn't want to make money in it if it was gonna have to deal with that.
if you was gonna be
People want to make money, man. People want to eat.
No,
People want
he's
to
right.
come up.
He's right. And at the same time, though, I get to say you're a fucking bitch that's eating good. You're a fucking piece of shit that's eating well. You're an all-star of pieces of shit. You're a respect fake legend, my man. Keep making that money.
That's funny.
So
because,
if people make pockets the whole thing, then I can ransack their pockets, though. You know what I'm saying? If they make it about the money, then I can ransack it.
So it's just like
No.
you could put that in the LeBron talk about respect fake. It's a 40% championship winner in the championship. But he's the greatest.
Let me tell you something. LeBron James, though, is on that respect fake shit because of the way he plays on the court, though. Primarily for that. I don't get mad at him because he didn't speak out against China when he was supposed to, and did all that.
Right.
No, but he was wrong. He's supposed to, right? If he was on that shit, sacrifice your money, right? But they don't, because remember, we had people that did.
Right.
He gets called a revolutionary, but there were people that did, like Muhammad Ali, and they sacrificed all their money for this shit, right? But LeBron James has been a total bitch on many a time in the court, many a time. You know what I mean? And if teaching my daughters how to have integrity in the competitive fields that they're in, I would never have them bitch out the way he's bitched out on many occasions. You know what I mean? I'd rather have you lose though than bitch out like that, or go to the press conference and say, "Yeah, come with the cast after the finals. You lost." It's weak shit. It's weak shit. You know what I'm saying? It's weak shit.
People are in
No.
love with the loser.
But but him making money though, I don't care. Make your shitty Space Jams. You know what I mean? You You know.
No, but I'm just saying, like, you
But
deal with people and their appetite.
yeah.
That's the
Yo,
devil's
art is
godfather.
always difficult. Art is always difficult because when you see great music, a lot of it though is because who knew how they sold. Like when you look at how Redman sold, that's really not supposed to sell. And if the same exact Redman had come out right now, nobody would fuck with it.
Right.
If There Is a Dark Side came out today, nobody would fuck with it. Muddy Waters, nobody would fuck with it. You know what I'm saying? Some people get the luck, the opportunity of being at the perfect time. You know what I'm saying? Right? That's just the way it is.
That machine
And the
would
majority of people that make great music, right? That make really worthwhile music though, are not in that time of where money hits at the same time.
Right.
If not, then hip hop wouldn't be good. I'll tell you why. Hip hop, the best of hip hop is sampling beautiful music.
Right.
We talk about Wu-Tang, Cream.
Right.
Did you ever hear the original of Cream? It's a beautiful song. RZA didn't have to do much on that one. That was a great dig.
Right.
How did the Charmels with that song not blow up like that and become incredible hit? You know what I'm saying? It's because music doesn't always blow up. You know what I'm saying? Right? You have people blow up that are legends. Aretha Franklin, but what about Linda Jones, who could belt it as much as anyone and has the shit, right? My favorite has always been Phyllis Hyman, though. She's a perfect example of a singer that never really blew up, right? Because a lot of it has Clive Davis trying to disco her out and fucking her up.
Yeah, they made a lot
Right?
of bad decisions. Bro.
Right? Yeah, they did. But she still made massive amounts of classics. Is a legend. One of the most beautiful singers ever. Like her voice was perfect to me. You know what I'm saying? To me. I give a whole bunch of technical reasons why. But I'm just saying I love Phyllis Hyman. That's my number one. You know what I'm saying? But what I'm saying is though, she didn't have the career that people expected her to have. It doesn't always collide.
Right.
You know, it usually doesn't. It usually doesn't. You know what I'm saying? Right? But so if it doesn't always collide though, I'm not gonna respect it. If you the media is the one that actually deliberately makes it collide. They make the shit collide. They decide the artists that they're gonna they love a person like Drake. Not because Drake is bitch and all that kind of shit, but because Drake is consistent. He'll be consistently weak, consistently submissive to everything. He's gonna be on time, all this kind of shit. And you could write about him forever though, and it's always gonna be a consistent meal ticket. And he breeds consistent meal tickets. Now you get other guys coming again, singing softly, talking soft, and you know, and you get it's safe though. Right? Remember, the journalism world though, to get the piece though, you want to talk to Redman, you got to go to Newark.
Right.
I don't want to fucking. I used to be in rooms that goes, I'm not going to fucking Newark. People are like, oh look, we got to do Fat Joe, but we're gonna have to go to, you know, we're gonna have to go out there to South Bronx and shit. I don't want to go out there. It was snowing out there for the wrong reasons. I'm not going out to the Bronx though. What if I ask the wrong question though and I don't make it back? You know what I mean? Oh wait, you mean I? Wait, I gotta go to Brownsville to talk to MOP? I don't know. You know, back then you know, just go, let's do a phone interview. Let's do Zoom. Let's Zoom Billy Dance on Zoom. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't like that back then. You have to go to the neighborhood. You know what I'm saying? I used to have to go to neighborhoods. I went to the Bronx. I wouldn't live in the Bronx until 4 years later. I went to the Bronx to talk to Fat Joe. You know what I'm saying? I didn't know what the fuck I was doing. I had no idea where the fuck I was. All I knew was where that green bulb was, that train station. Just in case, you know what I mean?
Right.
Just in case.
Right.
You know? Right? You leave the trail at Totones so you can find the fucking train. Right? Because you don't know what might happen though.
Right.
Fat Joe be very cool with me. But then when I leave, everybody fucking hates me. I don't know, right? How powerful is he, right? Right? When I really took the tour of Brownsville, I was with Thurston Howell, though. I wasn't by myself, you know? But he's an ambassador, though. You could walk through Brownsville with him, you know? They took care of me, you know what I'm saying? But, you know, that's not what was comfortable, though. Nas is going to have to come here. I'm not going to Queensbridge. Are you fucking crazy? Let's go to Queensbridge to interview Mobb Deep. You know, after a while, they're like, I don't like this idea. We'll go to the label, right? So they make things easier. You know, I'm not saying that I like the dangerous way. I don't think it's meant for everybody.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
I mean, I prefer to go to
Yeah,
go
but-
build.
yeah,
Let me go see.
Right, in their habitat. That's the way.
Let me go build
Where they're
you.
comfortable,
Right.
not in sitting in front of like a desk and stuff
Right,
in
right.
some corporate
Or some
boardroom.
studio or
That's
something
how you used to
like
do
that.
it. You'd be in like a boardroom that was like a corporate boardroom, and you'd be talking to the artist there. You know, that's how I did Terror Squad. You know, I was in the boardroom. It was mad awkward for all of them. You
When I
know?
was a journalist, because I like read some articles, I can't name exactly who it was, but you know, like I would read the story and it seemed like, all right, well, I met him over here, or I was at, you know, I caught him at the end of the show and I got this piece,
Mhm.
and then you know I might have met him at his house somewhere, you know, or at a restaurant,
Yeah,
and then they pieced the whole thing together
yeah.
artistically, right?
That's how they had to do it. Yeah.
Right.
All these artists, like when I mentioned J Live, I went out to Brooklyn to meet him, and I was at his house. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, did you piece it together, like the story, like you
It was all my responsibility.
Mm.
They would try to guide you to that, and the guiding would become more intense as the years went on. Like you said, like I never got to interview Jadakiss because when they asked me to, they also told, listen, when you talk to Jadakiss, talk about this beef. So I don't talk about no fucking beef. Fuck that. I want to talk about his music though. I never talked to him before though. He's got a lot of albums. I want to talk about that. You know, if I'm gonna piss him off about some bullshit, I'm gonna talk about why he picked those beats.
Right.
I'm not gonna talk about, you know what I mean? I'm gonna talk about how he rhymes, all that kind of shit. He said, oh no, we'll get somebody else. That's the shit, yeah. We get somebody else. You know? I was young though. I was saying what I was gonna do. Yeah, I wouldn't keep it to myself. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, but you know, that's what it is. You know what I mean? This whole thing this whole era I call the invisible renaissance because it's a huge, incredible world though. But it's not anywhere all these rappers are signing these bullshit deals. You know what I'm saying? And you can live off it. You know what I'm saying? You can live off it and make a nice income.
Right.
A lot of the greatest MCs have day jobs, but they get a lot out of their records too. You know what I'm saying? Right. And some of them are eating. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Solely off hip hop. You know, they worked it out. They found the niche and all that. You know, but as it gets bigger and bigger, though, the niches will mutate. You know what I'm saying? As we see now, they're mutating and they're becoming like commercialized in that underground. You know what I'm saying? Like you see commercialization of it's like you know, it's like a beast eating itself. It's disgusting.
You can see like commercialism is going to seep away its way in.
Yeah, because now you sell your product. Now you do the same things that they did.
Right.
You sell the cliches. You sell all the shit. You know? Yeah, it's like Animal Farm. It's a fucking Animal Farm. Seriously. But yeah. Did I say enough to get me in trouble?
We're gonna have trouble.
Get the Muslims all in
Not
trouble.
just the Muslims, man.
Muslims, everybody in trouble.
We have trolls. We have
Well, the trolls though. He's gonna be like, "Hey, how dare you?" So
no, I think the last one it was like,
it's so
I think he went to Dark Kevin and was like, he did a 37 part series on Sunez and fuck him.
yeah.
Fuck, man.
Jeez.
Yeah, man.
That's so funny. That's so funny.
I don't know, man. You're kind of like an asshole like me, man. I think you kind of like this stuff.
Oh man, I tell it like it is. You know what I mean? I'll put the email down here. I am allowed to go home now. All right. I want to say everybody, build. Let's do something great. And contact me. All right. Peace.
So Sunez, man, you think we could do it? We could do it.